guys accept questions from the audience?
We do.
We accept everything.
There's only participants.
Only as opposed, you have to say from the participants. We would like to know.
Discussion questions from the participants. I don't know, but I'm trying to keep my phone from overheating is the issue. It might, but I'm trying to keep my phone from overheating because it's in the sun.
Here, you want to?
Well, most phones don't agree with sitting in the sun.
Well, no.
in
Here,
direct sunlight
use
for
the
hours.
blue case because it'll offset. We're not over it.
All right, there we go.
There's somewhat bright vitamin D
Yeah,
friendly
there you go.
version because
Yes.
the lodge is freezing.
Yes. Excellent. We are assembled.
Mrs.
Welcome
Knowles
back, knights.
taking your time, but she's gonna be here eventually.
You good, people?
That's okay.
Okay. Good plan. Always a good plan. Also on the second day, first day, this whole day, first day back nap. Yeah.
I witnessed the epic post-breakfast nap earlier. I respect it. Are
We could
really?
begin. We
Yeah.
are, and
Wait,
we
it's
could
better-
begin introductions while we wait for Mrs. Knoll.
Mrs. Knoll being the piece de resistance or something. All the way at the end is like, oh, there's a pregnant lady.
Exactly.
Oh, the pregnant lady.
She's creating in a far more elite way than the rest of us. I'm only sitting here. I don't know what we're doing.
We introduce first.
Will you introduce first?
Yes.
First.
Everybody introduces. Okay, so everybody.
Let's introduce the person next. No, that's terrible. That's a terrible idea.
Everybody, name what type of writing you do want to do, like to do best, are most interested in. Sometimes people do fun facts, but I think that's going to be altogether too much. So just. Actually, no. Third thing, tell us what you've been doing since the last time we met.
Ah, yes, that is the third thing.
That should be the third thing.
It's not a secret third thing.
We met. Or
Clay,
if
you're
we've
up
never
first.
met, then just
Go. And then we will proceed in a figure eight around.
I'm a participant because not a writer.
Clay,
Like a part.
you got this, you got this, you got
You
this.
are a participant.
Clay, everybody.
Hi. Clay just Clay said no.
Clay's first time here, she sat in the corner with Shelby and laughed at us the entire time, and it was
She
one of the
did.
best
I
parts of the talk.
At you. I don't even remember laughing
with you. For you.
It was still great. I don't want to misconstrue here. It was fantastic. I couldn't see you. I could just hear you the whole time.
Pretty great.
It was great.
It was awesome.
We had a good audience.
Indeed.
I mean, participants.
Yeah, our largest audience has been like 3 people. It's always just participants, which is the best.
It is.
It's the correct way to do this.
Okay, Clay, when you finish your bite, swallow your bite, and then name,
That was a long ride.
writing style, what you've been
You
doing
right,
since
Clay,
the last
or are
time
you
we
a
met.
participant? Clay is a participant.
You are a participant.
That's literally what
You are a participant.
you're tripping, Clay. I'm literally what are you guys
She's still gonna make you introduce yourself.
What are you doing here?
What are you doing here, Clay?
listening? Trying to?
Being forced to speak against her will.
Very well, very well. Moving forward, Esther.
Hi.
There we go.
I'm Esther. I also write letters like Calais. Calais writes great letters. That's what she writes. I have great aspirations to write an epic autobiography for my children and grandchildren with all my wise wisdoms, of which I have none right now, but at least I can remember like what I'm doing right now. So I can draw on that later.
They go. Collecting.
Collecting.
What have you been doing since last time you joined us?
Was there a last time you joined us?
No.
No. I walked by. I may walk by in the video. Since then, I've walked by many things. I walk her by. Yeah.
I feel like
Thank you all.
This was the one running?
Your journey?
Yeah, this is the one that's running.
Oh yeah, that's the wind and that.
Oh,
But also, audio sensitivity is going to be
yes.
really brutal. All right, so who's next?
Micah.
Okay, I'm not actually officially an author. I'm here to learn. So, when I was 12, I wrote a novel. It was about, like, instead of using people, you'd use animals to tell the story in a way. So it was featuring mice, rats, different things like that. Kind of like what you would, if any of you know Redwall, it would be kind of based off that type of thing. So it was pretty basic, and definitely I know that there could be a lot that I could improve on it now.
We're on what?
So at this point, I decided to recreate the story. So I ended up making it a sequel to that, no, a prequel to that one. So it's kind of going along that same line, but it's the character's father and his friend and such. And so continuing from there, it's just sorry, it's just not. It's not going to probably be made for a long time because I'm not as dedicated. I don't do it as frequently as my sister does. But I do enjoy writing. It's just not my talent. So yeah. Did I introduce myself?
I think you did forget the name part.
Yes. So yeah, I'm Micah Cart. For any of you who don't know me.
Hi, Micah.
Hi, Micah.
Hi.
Welcome to Authors Anonymous.
Completely anonymous. Okay, so Ashley.
So I'm losing my voice, so sorry. I'm Ashley. I'm Micah's sister. I like writing Christian fiction. Usually like action fiction set in the medieval period mostly. And I have co-written 2 books with my brother Jonas, and I've also written other books, but I'm only satisfied with one of them and one of the other ones. And yeah, since the last time we had the authors talk, I haven't really been working on my books at all, sadly. Hopefully I'll be able to get back into it again. So.
Josie.
I'm Josie. I've been writing short stories for a while. I got a couple published a couple years ago. And then currently I'm working on the second draft of my novel that I started like a year and a half ago, I guess. So I would love to hear later about like how long it's taken y'all who have finished novels, like how long a good period of time is, because I don't know if I did that too fast or too slow or what. But yeah, right now I'm just focused on not quitting, especially with a big piece.
So valid.
Keep
That is
writing.
so valid.
So, I'm Kayla. I am mainly interested in writing, like, fantasy, ranging from, probably mid-fantasy. So it's not, like, low fantasy, but it's not, like, Lord of the Rings elves type yet, at least. Since the last author talk, I've mainly just written poetry and kind of revamped one of my stories. It's kind of changing the timeline and the characters a lot. So, that's what's new.
Good news. I'm Danielle, and I write epic fantasy, I guess is technically the categorization of it.
Epic in both senses.
Writing is really sweet. Very mild high fantasy. And since last time, I finished the publication process for my second book, and then have written a little over 80,000 words of a third book.
Heck yeah.
Which I am trying to finish in the next 2 months, roughly, to start the next step of the process. So that's been the thing.
The flex of a part-time job.
That is part of my part-time job.
Also self-employment.
I
Self-employment.
respect it so much.
Scary thing.
Self-employment. I am Bethany. I am a lurker. Generally.
No, you're not.
Lies.
I'm a lurker because I'm doing things.
You're a lurker. What am I?
Professional lurker.
We do not.
Professional lurkers.
Who pays you?
The state.
It's feds.
You like to know.
Feds.
It's Mela. I
Make
knew
enough
it.
to buy drugs.
Yeah, there you go.
That kind of money.
Let the listener know that she had electrolytes in her hand as she spoke. No, I am we'll only count the 2 official publications, and I have a third book that's coming out 3 weeks from today. Goodness, it's exhausting. Thank you very much. Thank you. It's exhausting.
It's hard being famous.
The weight of being a celebrity is really something. No, but I've been writing for a very long time. Primarily, what I write are sparkling things, I think, which is usually, I suppose it could be called low fantasy. I don't know what the actual stipulations are for that, but it could be called
fantasy.
No, you want it to be.
It's high fantasy, but it's shenanigan based, which
it is
changes
fantasy.
the
Yes,
flavor.
It's not epic. It's just high
the
fantasy.
elevation of the fantasy doesn't matter. It is shenanigan-based fantasy. Occasionally what could be called speculative fiction because I don't know what it is, and perhaps someday soon returning to science fiction because science fiction is actually really great, and there's an awesome opening for Christian authors to enter that space right now, and it could be so cool.
And also you're the Galaxy Girl.
I'm also the Galaxy Girl. It is my home. So that's what I've been doing since the last time we were together. Is I've been working incredibly hard on putting out the third book of the series and actually letting people know what happens in the end and giving them a book that doesn't have a cliffhanger. I think everyone was very satisfied about that. So yeah, that's me.
She says, and the third book will end on a cliffhanger, and we will never know peace.
You'll never sleep again.
Many tears, many pages shredded.
I am Naomi. Since the last time we were here, or I write fantasy, and since the last time we were here, I started and finished my first draft of my first novel.
Heck
Yeah.
That's
Big
pretty
guns.
awesome.
I'm Shelby. I sit, I listen, I adore.
She judges.
Never.
She has a good laugh about it, and it's great.
Yeah.
Bailey Jean.
I am Bailey. I'm working on. I like just doing random writing, but I'm trying to work on a fantasy book, like soft fantasy or whatever I guess you'd call it.
That is my
I was supposed to finish that last year and I didn't, but hopefully I'll finish the first draft this year and
Yes.
have something to run off of after that.
Hold on, you.
March 7th, gang.
Let's go.
Theoretically.
In theory, we'll see. Bro, where'd he go?
He's getting his keys.
I dabble in different things, but my favorite is typically high fantasy. And this is the first official author talk I've been in.
Woo!
Writer talk, whatever this thing is called. I was here last year, but it was in the online author talks that I have witnessed were in noise boxes, so I did not join.
They were pretty sad.
Fled.
Connor, you got skipped. It's your turn.
Oh. I have like no breath, but I'm Connor. I write solely poetry, so I do a little bit of free verse. I mostly try and work with the structure. I wasn't here last time, but I've been trying to work on rhyming scheme, so
That's pretty cool.
Nice.
This is Noel.
Oh, I am here to lurk.
She's not making anything but a baby.
Yeah.
And good food.
That
I
too.
write hardly at all. The things I have accomplished since the last time I lurked at a writer's talk are gotten married and grown a baby.
I made some darn good
What a flex!
I don't think that's what you were talking about, but
It's
those
still
are the
funny
big
to say.
those are the big things.
You also rank under maximum appreciator of
yes.
the arts.
You do.
You are one of our key appreciators.
I scribble.
How many people here have you baited for so, or like baited, or like arced for?
Sorry?
You read
Early
for a lot of
reads
us.
of many of our books before
How many
they're
times have
published.
you read a book before it was published?
Not many. Please change that.
I can arrange that.
We can make that
I
happen.
am actively working on that.
Let's do this. Oh.
Going back to high fantasy or low fantasy, because there are two different categories for fantasy.
Yes.
One of them is soft, mild, and hard fantasy, which is the category of how much fantasy is included in it. So mine's soft fantasy because there's not a lot of fantastical stuff that happens, but it is high fantasy because it is set in a world that is not real.
Thank you.
Low fantasy is a world that is our world, but special.
Like Harry Potter.
Yes. or Song of Albion because it starts in our world and then it goes to another world. So that one's technically low fantasy. Yours is high fantasy because it's not our world, but it's soft fantasy because it's not.
From my understanding, high fantasy was like big guns, heavily built world
Like
stuff.
Tolkien.
That was always what I understood.
The definition, the official definition, may have changed, but the official definition, the last several times I looked it up, so that's a conversation a couple of times, is that high fantasy just relates to the world itself, whether or not it is a different world. And low fantasy relates to whether or not it's our world.
So would urban fantasy, because I'm interested in that too, would urban fantasy fall under low fantasy, or is it because it is our world but like an alternate reality where
Then it would
magic
be low,
existed from the beginning?
low fantasy.
Okay.
Yeah, if it is our world but fancy, then it's low fantasy. So you will probably become a low fantasy author, and I believe in you.
I already have.
You will
They're just
probably
not
continue.
They're not suitable to be read right now.
It's fair.
Okay,
Oh yeah.
we can't
Glorious leader.
procrastinate any longer. You're up.
I'm Autumn. I write anything, basically, if it satisfies the itch in my brain. So right now I am in the trenches of the second draft of a contemporary fiction. I have on, in queue, drafting for a soft high fantasy and a harder high fantasy. And eventually I'll get back to speculative fiction and urban fantasies. But right now, I just really need to finish that one contemporary that has been dogging my footsteps since last time we were here. I was still working on it last time we were here, to be clear. I was about 20,000 words fewer when we were here last. But
And that's progress.
progress is something.
What is speculative fiction? I've heard that brought up twice. I don't understand what that means.
But what if, bro?
Spec fic is anything that is not technically real. Which
So it's
includes
That's
other
everything?
genres. Which
So,
no,
like-
it's not.
Not well,
No,
large
it's,
amount of
it excludes historical fiction. It excludes contemporary fiction. Stuff that could happen realistically in the real world is
Fantasy,
a different thing from
sci-fi,
speculative
etc.
fiction.
Those are all dystopian, all speculative fiction.
Steampunk.
Steampunk. Yeah.
What's going on?
Punk or punk?
What?
Punk or punk?
Punk. With a P.
Steampunk.
That sounds like a different genre altogether.
That's what we don't talk about. Also, Autumn, I didn't mean to skip you. I thought that we'd
It's fine.
all gone, and then was like,
No.
No,
It
she
gave me a
artfully
minute to
dodged
brace
being
myself.
the first.
she did. By forcing pork-a-lay.
Now, I know some people have discussion questions they were already thinking about before coming here. I want those people to ask their questions because I'm already interested.
Same.
Yes.
I don't know why you all looked at me. I don't have any questions yet.
I was actually going to
I'll
ask
think of
Josie
some.
because Josie said she had something she wanted to ask us about, and I've already forgotten what it was.
Yeah, it was like, what's a good amount of time that could take you to write a novel?
There is no set time.
There is
in
not.
my opinion.
I think
There's no required
setting a time date can be very helpful. And a lot of people have heard me harp on this because I've harped at a lot of people on this. But I think realistic time goals for writing a novel, depending on how long you want it to be, most of the time about a year for a first draft, is a realistic time goal. That will depend on when you achieve that will depend on many things like family stuff, like work stuff, like how you manage your time, what you're spending it on, whether or not you have a person, that kind of stuff will affect it largely. But I think having a set time to work towards can really help with consistency, and if you don't hit it, you will have made vast progress and then can finish up later. But
And it's not a set because the last time when I was writing my first draft, I had a 4-day work week and I wrote 60,000 words the entire first draft in 3 months. Wow. The second draft, I have a 5-day work week and I have been working on it since last July and I've only gotten about a third of the way through. So it really depends on your own circumstances and how much time and energy you have to devote to it. So people who are self-employed or have part-time work will have different kinds of time and energy allowances to make towards writing and other disciplines.
it also really depends on discipline because Autumn jokes about me being part-time. Photography is almost full-time. I could be full-time with it if I wanted to be. I just don't want to right now because I want to have time for family and for writing and for other things. And during busy season when I was working crazy hours because it was during the full kick of wedding and sessions and stuff, I wrote 50,000 words in a month. So you can do stuff. It's just a matter of time management and making sure that you're using the time that you have wisely. And also giving yourself breaks because sometimes words aren't going to word and that's okay.
Yeah. and I also have chronic illness, so the amount of energy someone might have, even if their time seems like there's a lot of it, the energy you have to give to that time is going to be tricky.
And my question is, are you asking about just specifically a first draft, or are you talking about the full process?
Either way, any information would be helpful.
So, full process for me, I've been in this for a long time. So I have a kind of, not a totally streamlined system because the system changes all the time, et cetera, et cetera. Yes?
The hiking's at 2.
What time is
If
it?
you're interested.
Bus it.
That's plenty of time for you to...
Oh, 12:59. Sweet.
Thank you.
Thank you.
But no, the process changes because your needs and abilities change with time, but knowing what you reasonably could do and what you would like to do is helpful, which is why I have like a soft process. Trying to think of, I've done challenges before where you're supposed to write a crap ton of words a day, and so you end up writing at least 50,000 words in a month, or 75 for a month and a half or whatever. So that can be done really quickly. I think the last first draft that I wrote without a time limit on it was, I want to say it was like 4 months. But a year is certainly like very realistic, and especially if it's your first draft, it gives you a deadline, and it also gives you plenty of grace for if you have a busy week or you're burnt out or what have you. But then editing passes for me, well, it depends. So there are 2 kinds of editing passes. There is developmental, where you are basically moving around the whole story. You are changing things in the world and the setting, taking out characters, putting characters in, what have you. Big things. Those are developmental. Those, for me, depending on how much work it needs, can take between like 3 to 6 months. Hello. And then copy editing is editing the words themselves. Once you're certain that the story is what you want, then you make the words to be what you want. And that also can vary, because I've written books that were 50,000 words, and I've written books that were 118K, which is, for me, a monster.
That's terrifying.
It is, believe me. I don't know what to do with it.
Publish it.
Yeah, Lord willing.
I want
Lord
to
willing.
eat it.
Yes. But copy editing from start to finish has taken me, I think, about 6 months. So the first of my currently published books, I drafted in November of 2019 with NaNoWriMo, which I now renounce because they've turned out to be quite an evil organization. Don't associate with them. But I drafted that in November of 2019. I published it in August of 2021. My second book was drafted in November again of 2020, and that was published in 1st of December of 2022. But this is where it gets tricky, because my book coming out in 3 weeks, that I drafted in November of 2022, it wasn't ready, so it was bad. It needed a lot of editing, and it's only being published in 2025. So,
but in the meantime,
you did write 118,000 words of something completely different.
Yes, I did.
Because you couldn't stop.
I could not, and now we have skyboats too.
So, what would the draft look like? How would it be compared? Like, what is a draft exactly?
It's the definition of that. Past the first draft, which is, I wrote the story beginning to end. What you define as a draft is kind of up to you. I count something as a new draft if I am going to have enough changes that I save it as a new document to preserve the old stuff just in case. I've never needed the old stuff, ever.
But it's worth having.
But it's good to have it. Gail Carson Levine, her book on writing was the first thing... Writing Magic, sorry. Her book is Writing Magic. It was the first writing book that I ever read, and it's what helped me get a lot of stuff done. It's a good, fun little starter book. But at the end of every chapter, she tells you, have fun, save what you wrote, save it for a minimum of 15 years. I'm not kidding. Save everything for a minimum of 15 years. If you get rid of anything, you will have regrets. Don't do that.
Okay.
But yeah, basically what I define as a draft is anything that is going to be changed enough that I want to save it as a separate document. And then that'll be like 5 drafts for me, give or take, but some people have more, some people have less.
Yeah.
It's up to what works for you.
I've never done a draft for a story before. I just write it out and then I fix up things later. But
yeah,
I might consider doing something like that if it's helpful.
Definitely worth it. Definitely worth it, because then you have all the versions and you can track the progress, and also it means that you have multiple versions saved. So
yeah, good idea.
Yeah, it's very helpful. And Bethany talking about her process brings back to another piece about how different authors write. I do not start writing a new project until I have published my old project, because my brain does not work that way. Bethany will be working on publishing a project while she's also drafting a new project, because she's cool like that.
You are doing that right now.
Nope, I did not start Corvus until
you were
after
working on,
Sparrow
like,
was
3
done.
books.
Nope, I was not. Mentally, yes. Externally, no.
Yeah.
Brain
But
does not
counting
work.
mentally,
Stewing does
Bethany's
not
working
count.
on like 45 different.
Exactly.
I'm working on 4
3.
books right
Yes.
now.
What do you... Yeah, stewing does not count, because in order for me to start working on any project, I have to have thought about it for like 5 years. So if I couldn't start on any other project until I was done with a thinking process for each project, it would be so far apart.
It'd be a lot.
So, Autumn, what was your process like for doing drafts? Because you are in the developmental and world building edits, right?
Well, draft 2 is so comprehensively different from draft 1 that
Yeah.
I don't know. But draft 1, I had been mulling on it for about 2 months, and then I just sat down and started writing because I could, and I wrote like the culminative scene of this of the break between Act 1 and Act 2, because it's only a 2-act draft. I wrote the culminative scene in the first scene, and then filled in the rest. And then 3 months later, I was like, "Hang on, what did I do? I just wrote a whole book." It was really weird.
Oops.
And then I mulled on it from January to early July, when I decided that the project I'd been working on in the meantime was not satisfying my brain, and I really needed to just finish this novel I started. And then I did a lot of developmental brainstorming before I started writing the second draft, because I had to completely overhaul the entire cast. Decided to completely overhaul the entire cast and some of the world building before I started writing again. And I'm still kind of working on it structurally, stewing on it when I'm not writing it, because I don't have as much energy to write as I would like. But it's still getting written, just in here, noggin, not on paper. Because even if you don't write things down, sometimes there's a lot of important work going on behind the scenes in the noggin when you don't have a pen going on. Stewing, very important.
Stewing.
Also, brainstorming with others is a incredibly helpful tool.
This is why I started writing Div 2 in the first place, is because I started talking about it. And someone started talking back, and not the person I'm looking across the table at, not at all. The people I'm looking at across the table at.
I just want to see everybody's book be awesome and complete, and then I put it on my bookshelf, and I feel a little glow of gold in my chest whenever I look at it. That's all.
What Autumn was talking about also brings up another good point, which is that sometimes when you're working on something, you will have to do a major overhaul, and it feels stressful, but it also is perfectly okay, and many, 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 many authors throughout all time have had to do that, and it's fine. It will hurt at first. Make sure you have a copy of the old stuff saved, so you're not deleting anything. Never delete anything. Have a cut files document. But also be okay if you have to change something major. If it makes it better, it's definitely worth it.
Oh yeah,
I totally agree.
Oh,
I
yeah.
started the novel that I just finished the first draft. I officially started it when I was 15, and it was a wreck, a horrible wreck, and it has changed. Oh, it's totally different now, and I'm happy for that. But there are parts of it that I sorely miss. So I have everything from before, but it is better now. And it's fun to look back every once in a while about how much of a wreck it was and how much I enjoyed it.
Same with Div 1 and 2, because Div 1 is so loose, and Div 2 is not done yet for many reasons. But
it is.
Already it's so distinctively different, and I love the first draft in a very different way than I love the second. Someone else has to say something now.
Div 1 was also very good.
Well, yes, I know that. I love it a lot.
So we were just ruminating.
We had a fun little party where Naomi sat on Autumn's couch and cried for 2 hours, and Autumn and I laughed.
I'm literally laying on the pull-out couch at Autumn's apartment, reading, and just... It was the whole time!
And every time we heard the sniff from the couch, Autumn and I just make eye contact across the room and snicker.
laugh aside, this is one of the most vindicating experiences of my entire career. Because every time she said, there's like, yes!
She has
My words worded.
I did the thing I wanted to do.
Evoking a feeling is one of the best vibes of writing ever, because that's the goal, isn't it?
This also happened with the first 20,000 words of Deep, too, that I gave them to Naomi, and she lay on my couch and sniffled about them. Very satisfying.
I love it when I start telling my brother or my sister an idea that I had, and they're like, "What next?" I'm like, "I have no idea. I'm picking it up on the spot."
It's such a feeling, but also like so satisfying. Like, that's why we tell stories. It's like, bro, listen to this. How about this? Like the act of telling a story to someone else is why we do it in the first place. We just do it the long way.
It's the act of sharing that makes it important, because you can write for yourself.
Sorry,
and like,
Elijah.
don't get me wrong. Everything starts off being for myself, and honestly, I write things mostly to amuse myself before I hand them to someone else, but the idea is then to hand it to someone else, isn't it?
Yeah, we write it internally to feed our souls, and then we share it externally to feed our souls again.
It feeds our soul until our cup overflows, and then we share.
And sometimes the sharing actually feeds our souls more than the original project did.
Yes.
Yes. I can't wait to actually finish something and like throw it at people. It's like, again, it's gonna be so good, Billy. It's gonna be so good. I'm gonna go home and actually write something probably. I feel motivated now. I can't go home!
But you will.
I will eventually!
But you will.
But by the time I get home, I'll be dead again. I'm sad now.
Just a poor wayfaring stranger.
Your boy has to leave camp and go to a wedding and not come home until the weekend. It's gonna be very long.
How dare you have to celebrate your friends?
I have been teased relentlessly already about this because there's going to be photographic evidence of me in bridesmaids' clothes, which is not Autumn's color palette, and I will not know peace.
But you will know happiness.
Yeah. I guess.
Theoretically.
It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. I'm going to have to bribe the photographer to take one picture of me in normal colored clothes. I have something to remember by that doesn't make me feel like a fraud. It'll be fun.
I believe in your power to bribe photographers.
Danielle.
I won't be there. You can't bribe me.
I can bribe you for something else. I just have to figure out what.
Pictures of Millie. No. Do any of you? Because you're cute.
I mean, which one? I can take all the glamour shots of my car that I want to.
I was talking about.
I know.
The cute Millie.
Are you saying that my hideous hatchback is not adorable?
No, I would.
I saw it yesterday on Off File.
It's cute in a very different way that Millie Knoll is cute.
It is cute like a chihuahua.
It is.
Yes.
It is.
Like Phoebe.
I don't think.
No, someone once told her that. It's inaccurate entirely, but like a chihuahua.
I don't think the word ugly can be used in conjunction
No,
with
it
Phoebe
can't
Bowen.
be,
That's
but
very
someone
rude.
did anyway because they were special.
Ouch. Oh boy. Anyway, that's not about writing. That is just random tangent.
So, random tangent we can all go on together. What is something that you've really enjoyed about the writing process in the last year? I know it's a mean question. I am fully prepared to answer it first or last.
I can answer.
Yes!
Okay.
Not first.
The learning who these characters are, because there are some characters that I've had from the very beginning, years ago, and they have grown as people as I have grown up as well. Yeah. But these characters have become very interesting, and like the villains of the story have become like worse and worse as the story goes on in a good literary way, not in a like, you know. It's been good.
I love that. I have characters on the back burner that I've been working with since I was 15, and watching, like, going back to them periodically and looking at them again. It's like, oh, you make so much more sense than you did when I was a child.
You have plot relevance now? What?
No, they're not, they were already plot relevant, but now they're also autistic. It was like, no, that makes so much sense.
You learn so much about who you were when you wrote something, when you look at it 5 years down the road.
Yeah. About 10 years down the road, It's like, hang on a second, what was I doing?
Like,
I was cooking, actually.
Well, that's not true. I was going to say I've only got 5 years down the road. That's not true.
No.
I've been writing since I was 11.
Yeah.
Like, without ceasing.
Only 5 years.
I told somebody once that I had like at least 20 finished novels, and they were like, "That's
absurd."
Well, finished drafts. I'm sorry, finished
That's a
drafts, and they were
finished
like, "That's ridiculous." No, it's not. Finished novel is I can
Not a
put this on my
published
shelf
book.
right
It's
now.
not a published book, but it is a finished. You
Manuscript.
wrote a novel. It's novel length or longer, and it's complete.
It's although it's also the ordinariness of succeeding. Is that it doesn't feel special when you watched it happen, but
didn't it feel special when you finished it and you said
100%?
Yeah,
100%. And most of them are unfit for the human eye, but have wonderful, fun little lines that I go back and read and went, wow.
That one scene was great.
13-year-old me was really onto something. Even if she was knee-high to a grasshopper. She was onto something.
Learning more about how other people process writing and stuff.
Yes.
Oh yeah. Mela has been asking really cool questions on the Discord server, by the way, and they have been some very interesting conversations.
I'm so glad that.
No, Mela is very good at discussion questions, okay? Mela is excellent at discussion questions.
We'll circle back around to that.
Oh no, I don't have any prepared for you.
Darn it!
All right, let's circle back around to the fact that Mela and I drove here together, and it was 7.5 hour drive. All 7.5 hours were spent talking about stuff we were writing.
Good. Good.
Without ever coming back to the same thing twice.
Good.
And the fact that there was still more to say.
There still is.
That's the danger of living multiple hours away from somebody that you need to talk to all the time.
We need more phone calls, bro.
Bro.
Hot bunnies.
What have I learned this year?
Connor, you look like you have thoughts. What have you enjoyed?
I've enjoyed the fact that my vocabulary is like way better than it was when I was 12. So I can articulate myself way better than I could then. I've enjoyed putting a lot more down and not throwing it away because I lost a ton of the stuff I did when I was little. So that was a shame.
That is a shame.
You needed a sibling who saved every single last one of your atrocious poems, like Annie did.
I'm so proud of her.
Annie did that, yes.
That's an Annie thing to
Not
do.
that I got rid of them. She wrote every last one down in a book and gave it to my mother.
That's really cute.
12.
I'm so proud of her.
Cute. And yet she acts weird when I still have some of her old calligraphy. Hypocrisy.
But like, is it the one she did that?
It's the one you commissioned her
Yes,
for.
that's
It's
not
so great.
weird. It's an awesome one.
It's fantastic. And she's like, oh no, you still have that? It's so bad. Like, Annika, you were 16.
Also, she'll like it in a couple of years. Give her some time.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And I will treasure it for her.
Yes. I took a very excellent free course from the University of Michigan that was on revision, and specifically it was about a lot of forms of revision, but the part that it seemed to focus on the most to me in my memory anyway, and the part that stuck out to me was talking about how important it is the way you structure a sentence. And like, if you're just getting into writing, this is going to sound like a lot of nitty gritty, and I'm so sorry, but believe you me, it's so much fun to look at sentences that are darn good and be like, wow, this is really doing something. Like, it is doing what it came here to do. Somebody thought about that. And it makes you want to write better sentences. And never had I been so excited to jump into line editing than I was when I finished that course. I was like, oh, still a whole 2 months until I get to line edit. I can't get there fast enough. Yeah, but it was a very, very good course full of many good materials. I learned about like so many good essays and books and things from that course. Learning about line editing is very, very fun. I highly recommend.
I get it, because like one of my favorite things that I get to do with writing is figure out what order you give someone information in to get like elicit the correct response.
Yes.
Like, I've been thinking about this for something I've been working on, hopefully for this week. Is like the way you deliver information is so intrinsic to how someone processes it. And if you do it right, it cook really good. And it sounds like mean, but like manipulate the way people are perceiving a situation. Like, that's why narration is such an important part of a fictional story. Is your narrator controls the flow of information and how you experience it.
It's also why
Which is why
is really important.
which is why unreliable narrators are so darn fun.
It's so great. It's so great.
Bad news, fam. I was lying the whole time.
Bum, bum, bum.
I wasn't lying to you, but I was willfully withholding a very crucial piece of information, and now that you know it, your entire worldview just shifted. AKA the very end of The Thief by Megan Whalen Turner.
I was waiting on that. If you were gonna bring it up, I was gonna bring it up.
Naomi was like, I will be here.
That ending like rewrote my entire brain, and it very much did influence the way I decided to use information from going forward. Because like the way she used the flow of information in that series is just so elite, and I love. It's not even relevant for Dave right now, which is relevant to the way I like to write things. It's like the way you control it. The flow of information is so important to the emotional impact of a narrative.
Potential.
Yes.
Also,
go ahead. No, you go.
Something that you just touched on a minute ago too is that one of the best parts about being a Christian author is that you're not only trying to tell a good story, but you're also trying to tell it well. Which means that the quality of the writing and the way that you use sentences and the prose and the ebb and flow of story, they also matter. Because you're not just trying to put out a book for the sake of putting out a book, you're trying to put out a book for the sake of influencing immortal souls.
The pursuit of excellence.
The pursuit of excellence. And it does matter. And even if that book's not going to be read in 20 or 30 years, it does matter for people who are reading it now because it is shaping part of their worldview today.
My favorite quote that I put in the Writers' Discord that one time about... I got to try to remember as much of it as I can to do it justice. But basically what the author was getting at is that the information that people know affects the way they see the world.
Mm-hmm.
So since a considerable amount of writing is information, and information affects how we see the world, if what you can do with your words is to affect even by a teeny tiny bit the way people see the world, like you have accomplished something there. And that's just such a darn good quote. And that's from the revision course, by the way. Go take the revision course. It's free. You can access all the materials for free. Go do it.
Other side thought / side tangent, that's one of my favorite parts about the writing process and about the fact that of being a word crafter, no matter what part of it you're in, is the fact that we know that the Lord loves stories because he chose to give us his word in story form, which means that we also know that stories have impact. We know that they're designed to impact our brains and to impact the way that we think and the way that we view the world and the way that we go about our days and love each other. Which means that as authors, we have a great responsibility and a great ability to be a blessing if we are intentional. And that's a really good thing and a really cool thing when you think about it. The fact that we are little baby word crafters who craft after the master word crafter who did things well.
Amen, see it.
What's that?
I like the image of us all being babies.
No, in 20 years, we're going to look back on this conversation and think we were...
Aw, we were so cute.
Yeah.
Speak for yourself.
I do.
You were also so cute.
I think of me like 3 or 4 years ago and I was a baby.
I might be cute, but I'm not young.
Yes, you are.
Unfortunately, you are.
At the table.
That doesn't mean you're not young.
You are less than 30.
For me, for 50.
I'm pushing 30 now.
But you're less than 30.
60,
I am.
You're
Yeah.
We're all
spring
If
chickens.
you're less than 70, you're young.
Wait for the silence and then insert letters.
The Levine policy.
It occurred to me in January that I'm pushing 30 now, and it's like, this is...
What do we define as pushing 30?
Well, beyond 26, it's like...
Hold on.
You're getting close.
Hold on.
You're 20 and a half.
It's getting personal now.
You're halfway through your 20s, your early 20s, or you're pushing your 30s. There's a nice little...
I got so many years before I'm pushing 30. I have so many years and I'm almost 26.
I thought pushing 30 was like 28, 29.
29 is pushing 30.
Okay. I think Autumn really wants to be pushing 30 right now.
It's literally just one more year.
Is that...
Next week.
Autumn, you are not pushing 30. You are in your mid to late 20s.
Same difference.
Spring chicken. Young butterfly.
Oh, Martha has a question.
So as someone who's tried once to write something and then completely not done it, what do you have any advice for if you're trying to start writing but you just don't know where to start?
Get good.
Introduce yourself, but yes.
Yeah, Martha.
That's Martha.
Yeah.
Does someone who just recently started a project for the first time or like an early time want to answer this one?
Just do
Bailey.
Well, your question was how to start it, kind of?
Yeah, like, or
Just get
like
yourself
tips
going
for
into it.
like getting going.
Getting
Because
into
I mean,
writing.
Find the thing that makes you excited about the project, write that, and figure out how to write around it.
Okay.
I would also say when I was drafted into Danielle's writing cult, that having people who were actually interested in my hobby because they're also interested in that same thing to talk about it with, and to be like, oh, I'm supposed to be actually working on this, not just in my brain thinking I'm supposed to be working on it or telling people about it that didn't really like have an interest in it.
Yeah.
Having
People sorry.
Go ahead. You were
Just people being there who actually get what you're doing and get the thought process that's behind it and stuff like that. That was also probably one of my favorite things about this year in writing, is just having people to talk to about it. And I don't really like ask for advice from people that much, like I probably should when it comes to writing, but even just knowing, oh, hey, where are you at in your draft? And even if they're infinitely ahead of me, it's still nice to know they're doing it with me, you know?
Joy shared is joy doubled.
Amen. Yeah. And just knowing that people, because I didn't start until Bethany and Danielle started bullying me into it. And I think just having people who are genuinely interested in what you're working on is such a huge thing, because if it were just up to me, I probably never would have gotten to it, because as much as I loved it, I was not very disciplined about it. But I think, having other people want it makes me want it more, and I'll have the desire to do it now because other people are also desiring it.
Okay.
So
I think. Sorry. I was just gonna say, it's also like if you're doing your first draft of something, not worrying about the way it's supposed to be or feel, even though that's what like you guys tell me all the time and I don't listen most of the time, but there's sometimes that every now and then though it's okay to really work on an area and refine it and make it good, so you can look at it and be like, this is what I want it to look like, and this is what it can look like, you know, and this is what the rest of it will look like if I actually work on it, not just, well, it all looks bad.
This is what we say, rules are made to be broken, so I'm proud of you for breaking rules.
And if you're at the beginning and you just have like a half-formed idea, there's no shame in writing like half sentences. Just write what you have and then add to it. And usually if you start, even if it's like a quarter of a sentence and makes no sense, it'll get you started.
Okay.
Vibes, write the vibes.
It's easier to add,
but not the vibes.
Have ideas.
The capital V vibes are optional.
What, Bethany?
Have ideas. Put ideas in notebook until you have a Frankenplot, and then you write a draft.
Facts.
And don't be afraid to write it ugly. It might feel awkward and weird, but if you write it down, it's better than nothing.
The first draft. Go ahead.
I was just about to say what she was going to say, because she told me this. The first draft is just for getting it out. You can go back later and make it all nice and beautiful and glorious, but the first draft is ugly and it just words.
It just needs to exist.
It's a word vomit.
Word salad.
Okay.
It's a word, yeah.
Yep.
As they say,
that one's nicer. Yeah, you can't edit a blank page. Amen. Also, one thing that you touched on a minute ago, that I'm listening to a book called Bandersnatch right now, which is about the Inklings. And one thing, it's so good, so many brain thoughts. One of the things they talk about a lot in there is having resonators, which is what Bailey was just talking about, because it's the concept of having people who not only believe in what you're doing, but also understand where you're going. Mm-hmm. People who are excited for what you're going to have written. And so they're going to be cheering you on rather than being like, your book is trash, this scene needs work. They're going to be like, you got this, keep going, press on, I love this thing. Clay is one of my resonators. Millie's another one. Autumn.
Mildred Knoll, like, who asked me for 2
here.
years, Scorch 3 when. I was like, if nothing else, I have to finish this book so Millie can finally read it.
They're a big deal. So finding a couple of hype people, even if it's just like one person literally, behold, it makes a big deal.
Okay.
It makes a big deal.
I gave 4 people the link to Div 1 at different times, and that is the reason why Div 2 exists.
I told Phoebe
it was
that
a
I
horrible
would
experience
give
watching people react to my comments that were meant for your eyes only. The horror that entered my soul when I saw Justin Purdy reply to your comment.
One time, and I just didn't finish it. Partially because I was having a hard time with spelling and punctuation and everything being a very, very weak spot for me.
Yeah. Which does make it hard.
That's something for later drafts.
Yeah. It's something I will probably need help with, because...
copy and line editors.
That's literally what their job is.
The dyslexia kicks in hard, and I miss things. But I have been interested in just trying it. And I was curious if there's any tips of like really getting into it.
You can do it, man.
I am very much down to join a cult.
Okay, you are welcome to join the cult. It's a good cult. We have a good time.
Write that down somewhere.
It's a good cult. Can you imagine some guy coming up to you on the street and being like, "You should join this. It's a good cult."
At least they're self-aware.
Oh man. The biggest thing for finishing a draft that I found is literally just having a deadline, which is what we were talking about earlier. Because if you have something that you're working towards and people that you told you are working towards it to follow up with you, then you are forced to at least make progress. And even if you don't finish it, you are forced to at least make progress. And also, there is great power in having finished a first draft because you understand more of what it looks like and what it means. And then when you're trying to do it again, it's easier the second time. So even if your first book will never be read by anybody, even if it's absolute garbage, it is worth persevering to have finished it, to understand, to then do better the next time. A lot of authors never publish their first books because they don't understand story structure, or character structure, or book structure, or any of the structure. They understand no structure. They just did it to learn.
Just ideas.
And then it teaches you enough to be more than worth it. Stepping stones.
I didn't publish my first book, but I published like my 25th book, and the one after that, and the one after that, and none of those are available for sale now. They weren't. It's not that they weren't any good. They were not something to build a career on, and not all projects are. Some things are a fun little piece that you write for your mom. Some things are a pet project, which for now is just for you. Later might be for someone else. You don't know.
It's a bedtime story for your friends' kids.
Yeah, it's a bedtime story for your friends' kids. Not all things are suitable to publish, but that should not be any reason to keep you from writing anything, ever. So
you also learn a lot
you can
by
also
writing.
fail and move forward, is all I'm saying.
Amen.
What time is it, guys? I'm trying not
Yeah,
to...
half an hour still.
Too close. Okay. I just don't want to push us too close to hike time and then we have to scramble.
Who else has not answered question about what you enjoyed in the last year? I don't think any of you guys have.
Enjoyed you?
Yeah, what you've enjoyed learning about writing in the last year. Yeah.
Well, definitely, you shouldn't be so attached to your first idea of the story that prevents you from changing what's making it better. I've heard this like several times said already, but yeah, just help sometimes if you get stuck in, like, let's say a stereotype or something that just happens in so many stories. It's like you don't even think, oh, maybe I can change this and actually make it better. It doesn't have to be the same as so many other stories. Because I basically had like a version of The Lion King, basically, in medieval fantasy. Yes, exactly. And then I was like, well, I can change this. I can have flexibility with the characters, the ages, the places, the geography. So I've just been realizing flexibility is good for getting started again.
Do what the story needs, even if you don't always like it at first.
I also need to remember not to cancel stuff.
So, what you've enjoyed about writing the past year?
Learning about writing or about writing last year. Either way. Yeah.
Well, I'm trying to write historical fiction, so researching and learning how to get better at researching, and just the things that I learned in that process have been a lot of fun because I like history, and that's why I got into it.
Amen.
Yeah.
What can we ask what time frame you've been working in?
I'm going for 1750s, so pre-revolution.
Okay.
Yeah, there's not as much information about that out as there is 1770s, obviously, which I found out the hard way. But I'm in it now, and so I'm just trying to learn more about that, and then figuring out later. I'm gonna have to decide, like, do I actually label it as historical fiction, because the criticism on that is so much harsher, on how accurate it is. But I'm gonna try to get it as accurate as I can so far, and it's great because, like, I'm learning about writing, I'm learning about being determined, and I'm learning about history at the same time. So I enjoy all of that.
I'm not sure if I've learned anything new in particular. I was kind of thinking recently about how it's amazing how much influence we can have with our books. We're literally trying to influence people with our writing, and so it can be a very powerful or dangerous tool. So
I haven't been doing a lot of like I said, I haven't done writing for a while. Writing my story, I have those basic ideas just still in my mind. I don't know all of the details, but at the same time, I can develop in my mind ideas. I can learn more. I've been reading some books, just which seeing those bigger words, the bigger vocabulary, it does help for the future. I'm sure it will improve the way I write. It will look a lot different. But yeah, and one other thing is, one good tip, if you can't start a story, I've learned, if you can't start a story at the very beginning because you just don't have a good idea, then you can even plant your story just somewhere where you actually know what's supposed to happen. You can start anywhere in the story and continue from there and add to the beginning.
Right.
Because most of the time you wouldn't necessarily want to do that, but I think that just getting something accomplished, not just doing nothing, just hopelessly in despair. You want to try to do something to get you motivated. Writing the story out, you're now encouraged. I have part of the story written, and then you add the beginning section to it. So.
I know that a lot of smaller writers I've read start with an ending and then work and just work up to it.
Knowing what you're working toward is very helpful because what you leave people with affects the entire way that they view the whole story. Which is why if an ending sucks, you hate the whole book. It doesn't matter if 364 pages were good. If page 365 wrecks it all, it's over. It's over. You burnt the whole thing down. In a bad way, not in a hey you did so good way. But yeah, I have heard people say many times that you have to know what you're working toward, and that was also one of the big parts with Scorch 3 that went so hideously wrong the first time I wrote it, is because I decided I wanted to write a trilogy, and I knew what would happen in the first book, I knew what would happen in the second book, and in the third book I was like, yeah, they probably win.
I'm finishing the book I'm reading now, and then I have to rush read your second one so that I can get ready for the third.
I believe in you.
So tired, bro. I'm presently trying to read more as well.
Also proud of you. You're doing so good.
The thing that really helps with writing is just reading a ridiculous amount of books.
Yes. In all genres.
Yes.
Yes.
Fill your brain with words and joy.
You cannot.
Good words.
You cannot produce things if you're not taking things in. It's like in life where you have no energy to do anything else. So.
Cannot write in vacuum. Must put things in the brain in order to get something back.
I'm dying for good coffee. I'm actually wilting on the inside without coffee.
I did was a mystery that ended up, the plot itself was good, but I had done nothing but mystery, so I didn't have
You're just not mine.
And so it was very stereotypical and not that good. And so
that's okay.
I think that's possibly why I just dropped it the first time. If I'm considering just getting a scrap notebook and just starting.
Do it and let it be a trash draft.
Send it.
Because it doesn't need to be good the first time, it just needs done.
If it's any comfort, my first draft is incredibly unreadable at this point because I got halfway through the story and realized that I needed to add an entire new character and she does not exist in the first half of the book. And so it is so unreadable right now. So it can be trash and it's great. Okay. It's a starting point. It's not the end.
Also, my first draft of the first book that I ever finished is one that is a dystopian. And it is, the main character is insufferable, the plot doesn't make sense, and the world is weak. So there is really nothing redemptive about the thing at all, but it was finished. And I learned a lot from that. So
I
it can
finished
be
the
trash.
first story, and then I think the notebook it was in got thrown away. So it's not actually that big of a deal. It was pretty awful. So, but it's been 3 years since I've even been interested in trying again. And then last year I went to the author talk. I was like, sounds fun.
All of my friends are doing it. I could do it too.
Exactly. There's nothing that has motivated me.
Bad. No. If all your friends, the bad kind, that is the bad kind of peer pressure method. That's not what we're talking about.
One.
Wait, which so many? Did all my friends just do it better?
No.
That one's also bad.
Because all my friends are doing it, and I said we should go find a cliff.
Do we have paragliders?
Yeah.
Then I would.
If all your friends paraglided off a cliff, yes, I would.
Exactly. Actually, those are really dangerous. They're really not safe.
Free to say.
I kind of do too, but one of my dad friends who does all the dangerous stuff said he would never do that because it's too dangerous, and I was like, ugh.
Here, go skydiving. That's a good. I mean, it's a lot safer.
Yeah,
But
and
not
have your
jumping
parachute
off a
not
cliff,
open.
though.
Huh?
And have your parachute not open.
Look, the first time you do that, you have an instructor with you, and you're not doing it by yourself.
And your mutual parachute does not open.
They have backup parachutes.
They do. They have more than one.
Yes. I know
Safety third.
I know this because Caleb went. Because he. Yeah.
You know.
No way.
I have jumped off.
I actually wanted to go skydiving before. I really want to. Calvin said you would take me.
Were you trying to paraglide or like what?
There was water at the
Water.
bottom.
Okay. Say water.
There was water at the bottom.
Did you
And
know
I
what was in the
terrified of
water
heights.
down there?
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay.
It was
Like, don't
proven
jump into-
jumped off the cliff.
Don't jump into unfamiliar bodies of water.
It was proven. I'd witnessed several people do it, but I could not jump off of anything for a solid year afterwards.
Yep. That'll do it.
Yeah. Be careful about jumping off of things even when other people can do it, because when I was younger, all the other kids, even ones my size, could jump off out of the treehouse onto the ground, and then I did it, and my joints decided they didn't like that. I could not do things other people could do without dislocating things, and it was bad.
That is a problem.
So Tiny You was just Archer, right? You were just Archer as a child.
Remember I told you my elbows popped out?
Yeah.
It was not fun. That was
Her ankle actively popped out while we were just standing at her car over the weekend. She just went, oh, my ankle popped out. She like rolled her ankle around and made a cracking noise, and it went back in. And I was like,
mine's very mild. It's just hypermobility. But it was enough.
Adjacent.
But yes,
We have 20 minutes to the hike.
Okay, so you probably should scoot.
Anyway,
Probably.
that's
Yeah.
not about
Yeah.
others.
Just remember, there is no better motivation than realizing that your friends can do it, so can you.
And that you could join a call if you want to.
Elijah, I hope that audio is usable.
okay, I'm now. Hold on. I need to turn the audio off first. Hold on. All right.